Welcome to Road to Billions podcast, the mentality of an entrepreneur. With your host, Moise Bertrand.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your host, Moise Bertrand, the Road to Billions podcast. It's been an amazing journey, man. I appreciate everybody who's been listening and tuning in, of course, on my last episode, and just been an active subscriber, man. I definitely appreciate it. Now, if you guys already don't know, I did mention that I bought a property here in Atlanta, and I've been rehabbing it. Of course, I'm going to give you guys some updates about that, but I'm also going to give you guys some advice about what's been going on in this real estate market, of course. If we all been keeping up with the news, tariffs been a little bit back and forth between China and U.S., so I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. And just giving you guys a little bit of advice for real estate. Of course, I just want to give you guys the mistakes that I sometimes make that you may just want to avoid, right? You don't want to make the same mistakes I do and, of course, cost yourself thousands of dollars and possibly just not have a good deal on your hands. But, I bought this house in Atlanta, and pretty much I'm rehabbing it. And, I told people that I'm really not going to talk or show too much about it because I want this to be a real private and, sacred thing, right? But I did want to give people, the idea of me already working on something like this. You get me? But, just to say, not to say too much, but it's one of those properties where you want to take your time because the previous owner, I believe, a tree struck through it and it caused severe damage. I'm talking about to the point where it kind of knocked off a lot of the roof and subfloor, and that caused a lot of the house to be messed up. So me being a person I'm always seeing the beauty in everything, and I dealt with many homes like this. I dealt with many homes in the past where people just left it on the market for days and weeks and months because they just didn't see the vision, right? And it's okay because sometimes they might just be good at what they do. That might just be acquisition, but they may not be good at rehabbing. They may not be good at selling, right? I'm good at all three: acquisition, rehabbing, and selling. I did all three. Literally, I wholesale, I sell properties, and I acquire properties, and I keep them for long term, whether or not I want to sell them or not. So I'm pretty much an expert in my field at this point. I'm not saying I'm a master of my craft as of yet, because I'm always learning in real estate. I'm always learning new terminology. I learned a lot of things just yesterday on, something called, I'm going to come back to the word. But pretty much what I'm just saying is a lot of people aren't really understanding that when you do deals, when you do certain things, you have to understand what goes on in the whole process of a house. And, I tell people all the time, I dealt with houses that had problems, that had roof structure and damage or water damage and, drywall repair. That's all work that needs to get done in any house if you really think about it. Because if you really are a real investor, your main concern is how old is the roof, right? You don't want to buy a house, in my opinion, with a roof that's 15 years because you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to try to just not get the roof done in the beginning, and I'm going to see how long it holds me out. I'm going to get it done in 2 years. Listen, man, that's $9,000 and up. You get me? And a lot of people don't understand, you have to get that done regardless because that is the home. With no roof, you're cooked, right? So first and foremost, when you deal with rehabs, you kind of see the same thing over and over and over in the same house, if that makes sense. You'll see the same piping and, it may not be the same piping, but, at least you might have to go from a cast iron to PVC because they don't do cast iron anymore. So now, everybody doing PVC, now plastic. So you see this in every house now. You see this in every rehab that you're starting to do. You're starting to become knowledgeable. And I tell people, don't run away from these huge rehabs and renovations because at one point I was always a person to be like, damn, how the hell did he bring this shit up from point A to all the way to Z, man? And, I sat there and I was like, you know what? it's really the contractors that allow you to have different avenues on how you want to go about a job. So they bring up these problems that you have with this house. That's why I tell people it's always imperative to have somebody who's very, for one, knowledgeable, and for two, who knows what they're going to be doing as far as the repair. So I'm knowledgeable as far as looking at a property, examining it, giving it, I would say, a SWOT analysis, you know. And of course, I'm bringing my contractor out there because what I can't see, he sees, and what he sees, I could pretty much tell him how I'm trying to go about it. And, you know, that's a mutual relationship. You want to have that with everybody you work with. So I try to tell people, man, it's not really like a difficult process when you're rehabbing houses. It's just more so a time thing, right? You don't want to spend too much time on one thing, and you don't want to spend too much time. You don't want to spend too much of a less time on one thing as well. So it's like you got to have a good balance. Like you don't want to take away to one time from the other because you want to hurry go on to the next step, which could cost you thousands, because if you skip over one step, you're fucked, right? So, you know, in this house, a lot of drywall had to get done and everything like that because, like I mentioned to you before, a tree went through it. And, you know, it was just one of those moments where when I looked at the house, I fell in love with it. I can honestly tell you that. And I seen it for what it was. And I feel like people disrespect houses, man. I feel like people don't understand the beauty of homes. People let homes go to waste. And I love homes. I always been in love, like, with houses. Now, since I'm thinking about it, that's really true. So that's really it, man. Like, I always been in love with, like, the architectural things of homes and what they have and how they look. And, you know, I always fell in love with that. So when I see homes in all different states and cities, I kind of get happy, man. I get excited because I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a great project. This is going to be a great moment for me to sit here and design it the way I want to. But I'm going to still respect the landmark. You know, I'm going to still respect the structure. I'm going to still give, you know, thanks to, you know, God. And I'm going to still give thanks to the previous owner for allowing me to take over this opportunity and create something for myself and my family. So that's the way I'm always looking at every project. And, you know, this project, like I told you guys before, is real sacred to me. Like, I'm really taking my time with it. I'm really, you know, honing in on the things I want for it to come out and look like, because I do have a vision for it. So that's enough of that. But as far as, you know, everything else with the tariffs in China and U.S., you know, me and my contractor handyman has been talking and stuff like that. And, you know, certain materials that a lot of people going to have to deal with a shortage of, or even a price increase, is wood. You know, we all talk about how wood is so the fundamental in everything, you know, in building houses and framing and studs and goddamn everything, you know, and not just real estate, but just around the world, and how wood is just such a fundamental thing. And that's going to cause a lot of problems as well with the real estate market, because in order to buy a home, you have to in order to build a home, you have to have certain budgets, right? And that just means the budget goes up. So when the budget goes up, that means the loan goes up as well, which means the price of the home goes up, right? So you might get a budget for a home. You might be building a home that will normally cost in 2025 $525, right? 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom house. 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, probably like $500,000, probably like $300,000, 300 and 400 grand. Let's just say that. Maybe, I don't know. Probably $500,000. But now the wood went up, right? The price of wood went up. So for every $1,000, $250 is now added in interest because it's 25%. So we're paying an additional interest on already the wood that's costing us to not only bring in here and also manufacture. Because when it gets over here, we have other companies here also that does another pair of the second step, which might be like pressure treating it, or, you know, cutting it into pieces, or designing it for people for tableware and all type. So they also have to make money as well on their import and export. So if they're sending things out to get designed and then they're receiving it back, think about how much money they're costing. They say, oh, we got to take this table and we got to ship it to China because we only know the designer over there who could really design this table. he's going to cost us XYZ $5,000, and to get his shit back, he's going to cost us $3,500, and that's not including the freaking real price of the invoice. So now you're looking at the table like, is this table really worth it? So you're like, man, fuck this, I'm going to Home Depot. You feel me? So I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, this thing is going to change so many lives, because for the good part, it's going to increase the economy, like, for China, I feel like, because people have no choice. Like, you have to pay for the wood now. And that was one of the biggest concerns, and a lot of the rehabs that I was speaking to people about, because, they were trying to figure out if they should just stock up on wood now as we speak, at Home Depot, or should they just wait? And I feel like since he just implied and put the tariffs on us, it is one of those things where it's going to change a lot. I could say that the most, and we all have to look at it because, trillions. I don't want to say I think it was in the high billions, or maybe $1 trillion was wiped in the stock market, ever since that whole tariff war was going on. So that's definitely another indicator that things are changing, and it could be for the better or for the worse. We don't know until time actually reveals itself. So I try to tell people, man, the best thing you could just do is be proactive instead of being reactive. I try to tell my sisters that all the time, being proactive instead of being reactive, doing your homework, being due diligent, because, I see a lot of people, they wait, right? They wait. And some people are too fast too. They too quick with certain things. Like, they want to do everything real fast, and that could be also bad, or they do everything too slow, and that could be bad as well. So you need to do everything in consideration and in moderation, right? So being proactive and not reactive. And you want to be someone who also understands, like, you're going to pace yourself, but you're not going to slow down, right? You're going to keep telling yourself, if you're doing 5 miles per hour, you're going to keep that pace, even though you're tired, even though you're energized, you're going to keep going. Everybody else might be going 3 miles. They might be going from 5 miles, 7 miles to dropping to 3 miles per hour, to dropping 1 mile per hour. And now they saying, you go ahead. But you keeping that 5 miles per hour pace every day, they looking at you like, damn, that motherfucker don't get tired. Now, by the time you know it, that's compound, which is what I'm comparing real estate to. You adding houses to your portfolio. You doing things that are adding to your livelihood of being a better person. It don't have to just be in relative to money. It could be in gym. I box, right? So me boxing is one of those things that allow me to not only, get in great shape, but also to face myself, when adversity, when things get bad, how far am I willing to go, to really take that to the top, right? And that's one of the things that allow you also to not really have to put money into, but also it builds up your mental capabilities and things. And I tell people, you don't always have to deal with things with finances. It could be things that could help you spiritually. You may just want to be a person who want to take a different journey on life, and you don't want to do the same things everybody else does, like party, do bullshit. You just want to be your own person, and that's okay too, because you could be rich being your own person. And you could do anything in this world, you just could be your own person, because at the end of the day, however you shape your life is however you shape it. However you write the book is how you write the book. No one here is telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's only the limitations you place on yourself. So I try to tell people, man, like, real estate taught me a lot, because, sometimes I look at myself and I ask myself, damn, bro, like, you really outdid yourself. You feel me? Because when I was first buying my first houses, man, it was definitely a pain in the ass. But, it's always going to be a pain in the ass. Problems always come. But, I'm able to deal with problems now, because I'm like, you know what? Problems always going to be there. It's going to happen regardless. Whether you have it in the beginning, whether you have it in the middle, or you have it at the end, everybody has problems, and you just know how to, how to deal with problems now. I'm better at that now. I could just say I assess problems differently instead of looking at it like it's the end of the world. I do look at everything like, how could I make this go away in the most safest and simplest form, and peaceful form as well, because you always want to take things and make it as peaceful as possible. So real estate, man, I try to tell everybody to first get in contact with other investors if you are looking to really invest in real estate, because you want people who are going to be able to teach you the game. You want to listen to people like myself who have a podcast. I may not drop a lot, but, I have a catalog. The catalog is years of real estate information, of personal experience, of me giving you guys real life recipes and everything to do certain things to accumulate wealth and, come out that gutter, man, and come out the mud and really take yourself to the top. And I'm not going to say it's easy, people. It's not easy at all. I'm not saying now you're not going to be like walking into this industry thinking it's easy. I know a lot of people just want to become realtors because it sounds easy and it looks easy and it looks fun and it sounds good. But they work too. You got to be working at anything you do, especially if you want to be the top because, at the boxing gym, we have something saying, the champ, you the champ, but someone else want to be the champ too. And he watching you. He watching your every move. He watching you when you wake up. He watching you when you snooze. He watching your every move because he want to be the champ too. You get me? You know what that means? Someone is always trying to take your spot. Someone may not be trying to take your spot. That might just be something you put in the top of your head like, you can't fall off because people want to see you fall off. So that's exactly what that could be relative to. But in that situation, someone wants what you have. So you have to be very much a shark. You have to be very much stern. But you also have to have a nice side, right? Be respectful, be peaceful, and most importantly, communicate. What I do now, I try to tell people what it is that's going on with me and them. I don't leave things up in the air. I don't leave things for questioning or, hard feelings or, harboring feelings. I feel like if me and you are two people who could have a conversation, we're going to have that hard conversation. A lot of people run away from it. I face it now. I've been a person who sometimes in the past, I was like, man, I don't want to talk to this lender, man. He did me wrong. Or I don't want to talk to this contractor, man. He fucked up the job. And I was like, man, I like having the same people on my team. I don't like jumping from Mark to Henry to motherfucking Zach and this all type of motherfucking, those not real people. You feel me? I'm just naming names, but just having different groups of people, I don't like it. I like the same group of people I roll with, because it's a relationship with me, and I'm loyal to the fact where my contractors know how I like to do certain things. Like, okay, Mo, you gonna throw a quarter around this house? I already know. You don't have to ask me that. You feel me? That's a part of the flooring. So what I tell people is, I try to work on everybody's skill set and try to build everybody and try to provide people with jobs. But most importantly, you don't want to hire everybody because when you're doing things like real estate, those are things that could cost you thousands if you're not doing it right. So I try to tell people, man, really understand what you're doing, respect the game, respect the people, and just continue to learn because, like I said, it's very lucrative. I always try to tell my sister to keep working hard. I always try to tell my mentees keep doing good because, I'm proud of them. They came to me with the vision of actually owning a house. Some of them have a few houses. Some of them have one house. But it doesn't matter. As long as I was able to get them one house, that's all I told myself. As long as I'm able to get people one house, I did my job. As long as I'm able to help them gain income, build a residual on the side without having to work, I did my job as a mentor, and I successfully did that numerous times, well over 10 times. So I'm continuing to inspire. I'm continuing to help others who want to be inspired and want to be helped. But I try to tell the black community that you can't really help people who don't want to see you win because their motive isn't to help, isn't to win. It's to figure you out, to tear you down. And that's one of the most things I try to keep to myself where, the recipe I have and the knowledge I have. And a lot of people want to feel like, why don't you give it away? Because sometimes you don't want to give pearls to swine. You can't tell people everything that you went through because knowledge is the game is sold, is not told. So if you want to learn, you have to put the work in like I did. But I have no problem giving the knowledge away. I only have a problem with people who don't respect the knowledge. But of course, like I tell you guys all the time, this is the Road to Billions podcast. The knowledge is here. You just got to look for it. So I appreciate you guys for listening to Road to Billions podcast. It's been an amazing journey. You guys take care.